Neal Brown had to have it, and he didn't come close to getting it. An embarrassing loss in Lubbock, Texas, leaves fans wondering what's going to happen next and if Wren Baker is going to pull the trigger. Let's talk about that because I think there's a chance he may not.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up? Welcome in, guys. My name's Mountaineer Paul. Another episode of Locked On West Virginia is headed your way. Thank you for joining me on this beautiful Saturday, guys. Hope your Thanksgivings went well if you're joining for the first time since the holiday. We're going to bring this game to you from partly by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. West Virginia loses 52-15 in Lubbock, Texas, finishes 6-6 on the season in a game Neal Brown had to have. Most people felt like he was coaching for his job. Hoppy had led people to believe yesterday, I think it was, on Sportsline that a win or a loss could determine one or the other. Then we get an article from 247 Sports today where Wren Baker was saying that he wouldn't make a change if he couldn't give the next coach all the amenities he's going to need to be successful, and weighing that against what we already have and giving him more. And I felt like the letter that he wrote a couple of weeks ago talking about our financial status was fishy. And then now this 247 article came out, and you can read into it how you want to. Matter of fact, I can just try and pull it up. Let's see if I can get it really quick, guys. Apologies, I should have had this already ready to go, but, you know, sometimes you don't always think like you should, I guess, you know. There was just so much going on with this game today, and, yeah, it's frustrating. Okay, here's the article. This is from 247 Sports, and it's from Chris Anderson. It says, did Wren Baker hint at which way he's leaning on Neal Brown's future? This is from 6 hours ago. West Virginia Athletic Director did an interview this week and had some interesting things to say about coaching changes. Wren Baker made a not-so-publicized appearance on a podcast earlier this week, appearing on Ryan Bradley Cow's Report, a podcast focused on leadership in college sports, often talking with various athletic directors and other program leaders around the country. During his conversation with Bradley, West Virginia University athletic director veered into comments about coaching changes, including his thought process on when to make one. While never mentioning Neal Brown by name, it certainly seemed relevant to the situation surrounding WVU's football program. I think the biggest thing is you have to have a process. You have to understand your job to know all the details and exactly where you can be from a budget standpoint in this environment, from a revenue sharing standpoint, and what you can invest in their staff, said Baker about his own role. I'm hesitant to make a coaching change if I don't think I can give the new coach all the things to be successful. And that requires you to do an assessment. Did I give this coach all the tools to be successful? And at this point, if I have an investment to make, what's the better investment? To give a coach who knows the pros and cons and has maybe learned from some years doing the job, the tools, or a new coach? This is something that has been discussed before in Morgantown when Baker first arrived, and WVU decided to lift some of the restrictions on the previous athletic director, Shane Lyons, had self-imposed on the program as far as NIL and transfer recruiting. Based on what Baker said, it sounds like maybe a talking point behind the scenes once more. Furthermore, he went on to say there is a nuance. Like here in West Virginia, it's much different than North Texas in a lot of ways. We are the state's pro team. There's 1.8 million West Virginians in on every possession. I've never walked in a public place from the day that I was hired here and not been recognized. We've all worked with coaches who cannot handle that. Fishbowl effect, especially when times are hard. If you can't handle that, you cannot be here. There's no hiding from it. There's no getting away. There's no anonymity. We spent a lot of time digging in on the interview process. There are other things, but that's unique here in that you are the state's top pro team. Did Wren Baker give away hints as to which way he's leaning about WVU's current situation? No, but he did mention that no matter what, it may seem like the outside world, he will always stay ready. Got to always be ready, said Baker. Every year I ask our sports program administrator to build a database of candidates as if our job is going to be open. I think whether you're having a real successful year or a real unsuccessful year, you have to be ready for that. There's a healthy exercise in just going through that. I think that's important to make sure you're ready. So I think, listening to those comments and trying not to read too much into them, right, is difficult. Because when I first read that today, guys, I was hot. I was freaking mad. Hot. I can't tell you how mad I was when I read that article. Because in my head, I'm thinking, he's setting us up to bring him back. And I just don't think at this point you can justify it. Not after today. And look, I'm not saying that I don't know what Wren Baker thinks. I don't know if today was a make or break or the decision's been made and they just kept it quiet. I have no clue. But what I do know is at this point, you can't bring him back. There's no way. 52-15 in a game you had to have. There was every likelihood that he put every ounce of energy into getting the team ready for this, right? And you just completely blew apart. It wasn't even close. That second quarter snowballed, and you played better in the second half. But, you scored once, right, or twice in the second half. Maybe I think one may have been a field goal, but 15 points against the actually, I've got the numbers. So here are the numbers on the Texas Tech defense, by the way. We've kind of blamed it on the defense this year. Well, Neal Brown's offense just scored 15 against the 125th scoring defense, giving up 36 points a game. So they held you to 16 points under their average today. They're 132 out of 134 pass defense in the league, or last in the Big 12, and two from the very bottom. They've allowed 125 total touchdowns, allowing 456 yards a game. That seems like a typo. West Virginia's offense in the first half, 125 total yards, 98 passing yards, a touchdown, 27 yards, 0 touchdowns. Those were my notes after the first half. My good friend Zach says he's ashamed, as we should be. There's almost 500 of you guys in here right now, and if I could ask you to just do me a big favor, like the video. If you could just, whatever you're doing, if you got your thumb on your phone, click the like button for me. Or if you're on X, come over here and just share the video or like it over there, whichever one. And just leave a comment below and share this video out with others if you can. So I'm embarrassed, man. I am. I think, I'm really, I think I should have said this earlier, but I'm sad for the kids, obviously. Wyatt Milam, Garrett Green, all those guys, they earned way more. Seriously, they earned more than what they were given today. I also don't agree with the way he did. Keeping Neal Brown, keeping Garrett in the game, in my opinion, was a bad move. But Neal Brown, he'll go to the grave with people that he likes or trusts. Just the way it is. I think you needed to make a change at quarterback somewhere in that second quarter when things are snowballing, and you didn't. Obviously, Garrett didn't get a lot of help today. There were a couple of drop balls as well. But he was also very inaccurate. The one to Preston, which should have been caught, but it was still inaccurate, right? And to kick it all today, I'll save it for after the break, but there was more that Neal just blows my mind on. Like, his coaching moves and decisions are not cool. They're not flashy. They're not smart. I don't get Darren DeVries feelings from him at all, and haven't for a long time. Let's talk about, will Wren Baker pull the trigger? Because I think that's a question that I haven't really given the answer to yet. And I'm going to gripe about some things that Neal Brown did in the game too today, because it's really sad. Stick around. This is Locked On West Virginia. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia is brought to you by Game Time, guys. Game Time picks filters at the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands and thousands of tickets. Make sure you learn about curated deals, guys. They bring you the best price on great seats. You can look in the app before you buy, and then you can use that panoramic view so that you have no surprise fees at checkout. Curation makes it easier to save on sports, comedy, concerts, theater, and more, and it's covered by the lowest price guarantee, or they'll credit you 110% of the difference, guys. That makes it the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. And remember, the terms do apply here. Again, create the account, redeem the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's for $20 off. Download the Game Time app, and then you got to ask yourself the question, what time is it? It's game time. Ha, ha, ha at Ohio State. I love it. Love it. Love it. Oh, man, I hate them as much as Pitt, guys. I just got to tell you, by the way, I am a Buckeye hater, even though I've got red on right now. You know, it's bothered me all year. It really has, but this whole thing with Neal Brown, he talked about the middle eight all the time. And if you don't know what the middle eight is, it's the last 4 minutes of the first half and the first 4 minutes of the second half. The most important 8 minutes in any football game. Games are won and lost during that time period almost in every single game, if you pay attention. And yet and still, Neal Brown chooses to receive every kickoff if given the opportunity. Until last week, we had received the ball 18 straight times because other coaches defer like normal. There's a reason coaches defer, because it gives you the ball in the second half. If you get a stop on the first drive, it's basically like you received the ball twice, right? Anyway, Neal Brown, obviously, for 18 straight games until last week, chooses to receive the ball. In the one game that UCF decided to receive it last week, we went on defense first. What happened? We dominated the middle eight and dominated the game. Come back to this week, same old, same old. Not only do you choose to receive the ball, but you choose to. Obviously, Texas Tech is going to put you into the wind. So your first drive is into the wind. Now, somebody was trying to tell me that they were at the game and it wasn't that windy, but it's just a philosophy deal for me. There was some wind because it was bothering Garrett a little bit, but every coach in America says you defer. And I'm not saying you can't be different or unique, but this is one of those things where a lot of coaches do it because it works. And this thing where Neal Brown, this is this air raid mentality of possessions. We need more possessions. We need more possessions. And over the course of a season, Neal Brown says, if you receive the ball, you'll have more possessions. That's just mind-boggling for me. How about limiting possessions? Did you ever think about that? What if you go on defense more and you limit possessions? Won't you gain possessions by doing that too? I get that we had a struggling defense this year, but come on. Like you refused to receive the ball, and we were not great scoring the ball first a lot this year, and though in the past we have been. I just don't agree with that move, man, and it came back to bite us today because they destroyed us in the middle eight. It wasn't even close, obviously. Now, moving on, there's more, but there's no need to pile on. It's over. Will Wren Baker pull the trigger? You know, I had been told as of 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, that he was at a breaking point and that a decision was pretty much made. But, and here's the other thing. I was also told that finances were, they had finally come to a decision of like, hey, look, if finances are the only reason you're not moving on from somebody, that's the wrong reason, right? Like if you have no belief in a coach, but you don't move on because of finances, that's a horrible move. If you have to believe in this guy 100%, right? Wren Baker, if he chooses not to move on from Neal Brown and Neal Brown does bad next year, will probably lose his job. I don't know. Maybe that's too strong because of what Darren DeVries and Kellogg and people are doing. But the football is so much more important to West Virginia people. I would love to know how people feel in the comments. Football is so much more important to us than the other two sports, obviously. Although basketball is second and it's right up there, you know. But football just moves the needle for us because it's our identity. It's what we've been good at. And I just think that we hang our hats on that as a school and a fan base. And Neal Brown's kind of destroyed that for us. Being in the Big 12 has destroyed that for us. Every quarterback, Jordan made a great point today, by the way, from Country Roads webcast on his show, which if you haven't saw this video, I highly recommend checking it out. This is without fail. Every single quarterback Neal Brown has ever coached at West Virginia has regressed from year 1 to year 2. Every single one. Look at the year Garrett Green had last year. Incredible, right? 4 picks. He was on a bunch of award lists. We thought maybe he would have a sneaky Heisman campaign. Coming all the entire offensive line return besides Zach, but we thought we could at least be close to what that offensive line was last year. Maybe not as good, but even a step back would help. And guess what? In pass return and pass protection, we were really good this year. If we had a passing quarterback, we would have lit people up this year. I don't know what happened today. We got sacks today, but just it's insane, man. Jordan, maybe you can help me with some in the comments. Can you put in the comments, Jordan, and for those of you listening on podcast, I'm talking to my YouTube chat. Can you put in the comments exactly what that just a couple names in there, like JT, I know might be one. Dagy's probably another. Garrett Green's another. Can you put some numbers down in there that off the top of your head about who has regressed under him? I think that's a super fascinating topic because I don't know what it is. I think it's his number one, his offense is very vanilla. So he does the same things a lot. And there's tails, right? There's a lot of motion and movement, but there's only so much you can do before you realize, okay, they're going to follow the tight ends. like if you follow the West Virginia tight ends or the motion, it's pretty easy to tell which way they're going a lot of times. And it's the same thing in this situation. So I just, I don't know, man. I started falling out of love with this dude as a coach, a few years back, obviously, right after the Pitt loss, I think is when it really started for me. The interception at the end and that whole year and how that looked. I started to realize, okay, this guy doesn't have it in crunch time. He doesn't have that Mamba mentality. You look at Kirby Smart or Signetti, these guys that literally live and die, or Darren DeVries. You listen to Darren DeVries in the locker room, and, he made me tear up yesterday. He said, 27 years of coaching, I've never seen this, right? And just that speech was amazing. I just, Neal Brown he's like a limp noodle or something, man. So he's like, you got a fire going and he's a blanket. He just lands on the fire. It's insane. Kendall dropped throughout his career, his year. Dagy took over and started hot, then fell off and ended up being replaced. JT Daniels regressed greatly in grade and ended up being replaced. And now Garrett Green. Yep. Basically true. So to answer my question from earlier, I don't know what Wren Baker is going to do anymore. I know it seems obvious that he should fire him. I just don't know what's going to happen now. I haven't been able to contact anybody today. Literally, all my contacts won't answer me right now. All of them, whether it be players, media, the one coach on staff, like nobody. I'm getting ghosted right now, and I have no idea why. I don't know if it's because they just, sometimes you're not, you just have to hold something back from somebody. Obviously, I'm not Pete Thamel, so if it's going to get leaked, it'll get leaked through a larger news source. Maybe one of the local people will get it. Maybe it'll be Hoppy, but it ain't going to be me this time. So I'm gonna be with you guys, waiting to see what happens. Now I might get it right before it goes. We'll see, and I'll be right on here if it is. But um, my gut says that it's probably 60-40 ish that he's going to be fired. But if they can't guarantee Wren some help for the next guy, I do understand the concept. It's just in this specific situation with Neal in 6 years. It's not that I don't think he can coach exactly like from an X's and O's standpoint. It's his entire mentality. He's a micromanager. He gets married to his staff, coaches, and players way too much for my liking. He just doesn't make enough changes, man, at all. So and the talent evaluation has sucked, really. Like you look at like who we brought in that's really, really good. Like we brought in players that have been okay, but like for every TJ Jackson or for every Cole Taylor, I can name a Garnett Hollis. It's just there are way worse as far as that goes than good. So I think I think it's going to happen because of public pressure. I know that people think that don't matter, but it does, especially where dollars are concerned. And I think people will they'll do everything but boycott the team. If Neal comes back next year, they better kill it in the portal. Like they better bring in name brand players with huge names that we can say, okay, like for instance, I remember we were looking at Jackson Dart that one year when we got JT Daniels. Like those are the kind of names I'm going to need to see. I don't want to see you buying it. Like, listen, I love Nico. I've kind of seen enough. I want something more. I'm not saying he's coming back. I'm just saying if you bring him back, I don't want to hear that you feel great about Nico Markell when you wouldn't play him. I don't want to hear it. I've kind of seen enough. I don't think he's as now. Maybe in another offense he'd be better, but in this offense, I don't see him being great. And then our wide receiver rooms was completely retooled. Like even Rodney Gallagher, although he had a couple good games, has been very disappointing. Darius Farmer got almost no touches. Uh, Robinson coming back would be somebody I could be excited about, but there are very few players to be excited about on this roster. Obviously, Jaheim White is at the very top of the list to be excited about, but hopefully there's a change made, guys. Hudson Clement is somebody I think is a number 2, maybe number 3 receiver if you're talking about. Look, no offense, James, but in West Virginia, when we had our best teams, where's Hudson Clement going to be at when Stedman and Tavon's on the roster, or when Gary Jennings and those boys are on the roster, and David Sills? Where's Hudson Clement in that? Like, that's what I'm talking about. We need to get back to what we're used to having, which is dominant skill players. I love being known to have a good offensive line. I love that. I'd rather have a good offensive line and elite skill talent and quarterback. Just call me crazy. But I want to go back to what we've won with in the past. Up next on Locked On West Virginia, guys. When will it happen if it's going to happen? I think that's a conversation worth having. So let's have it next, right here on Locked On West Virginia. And this episode's brought to you by FanDuel, guys. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets. That's if you win. Right here on FanDuel Sportsbook app, that you can get everything you need to place live bets all in one place. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view the live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page you place your bets. All you have to do is visit FanDuel.com to get started today. Don't forget, that's $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com. While you're there, never waste a hunch and make every single moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. And we are back. We're closing in on 700 people in here, guys. If you can, do me a favor and just hit that like button for me before you go. Leave a comment below. If you disagree with me, I would love to debate with you. Other than that, not a whole lot to, left to talk about other than when will it happen? Well, I think we'll know by tomorrow or Monday. If there's not a change made by the 2nd, I would highly doubt one's going to be made. It could happen today, but James said at least we're not 0-12. Are you being facetious, James? Are you saying that tongue in cheek? Because is that because Neal Brown said that? Hey, at least we're not 0-10, right? Yeah, I get it. But the buyout, I think, goes down on the 1st. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong on that. But other than that, obviously you've got on the 4th, you've got National Signing Day. The 28th, I believe the portal opens or closes. Is it open or close? I think it opens, which with West Virginia, it would be open for a month after the Neal Brown firing. And so you want to get your next guy in here ASAP. I don't know what's going to happen with it, but look, other reports, all by the way, people are saying West Virginia may decline a bowl invite, especially if Neal Brown doesn't come back, because obviously who's going to play on the team? There's going to be nobody to play. Everybody's going to either opt out or transfer. So I wouldn't get my hopes up for the bowl game, guys. A lot of people feel like West Virginia could opt out. So even if Neal Brown stays, I've heard some people say that they may opt out because of having trouble keeping everybody on board to play it. So in this day and age, just regular old bowl games almost aren't worth the risk for your high-level players, right? A guy like Cole Taylor's not going to waste his NFL future playing in a bowl game that they're not watching. He'll go play in the Hula Bowl instead. That kind of stuff, in my opinion. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be crucial in the next couple of days. I imagine all of us will be contacting whoever we know about this. I know I'll be trying to reach out to my sources again today. I'll even probably hit the message boards up and see what they're doing. You never know. They do post updates on those, and I'm excited to find out, guys, what happens. What's the future of West Virginia football? I think we're going to find out soon. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, guys, there's 600 of you guys in here right now. Do me a big favor and just hit that subscribe button over here on YouTube for Locked On West Virginia. Also, like the video. Don't forget to do that. And I've got a Thanksgiving thing to go to, guys. If something happens, I'm going to take my laptop with me. If something happens, I'll go live immediately on the spot, and we'll talk about it there. Until then, hold on to your hats. Wish the players all the best. Thank you to all the seniors and all the players that have given us so much over the last few years. I hate that they had to go out like this. It's horrible. It just breaks my heart for them. You know, they deserve so much more, but it's reality. Hopefully they all get a chance to the next level or have great careers. Other than that, guys, I think I'm done for now. I will see you guys when the news breaks, and it'll be right here on Locked On West Virginia. Thank you for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen. If you can do me a favor, make Locked On Big 12 your next listen, guys. Drake Toll leads the conversation in Conference Realignment News and pulls no punches when it comes to covering every single Big 12 team. Go to Locked On Big 12 on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. I'm almost at 3,000, guys, so if you could do me a favor and get over here and subscribe, it would mean a lot to me. I don't want any money, anything. Just come over here and subscribe for me. It would make a lot of sense for me to get there. I appreciate it, y'all. I'll see you when the news breaks. Have a great one. Have a great weekend. Go basketball. I'm out.